All right. So I think I've picked an image. It's not mine. I do have lots of pictures, but I thought I would challenge myself and maybe do something a little bit different. So this is um, someone else's photo. He goes around and takes a lot of really interesting photos, very remote places, lots of cold stuff. So I like this one. I like the afterglow and some of that. So I'm gonna have this over to the side. I'm gonna try to see if I can't figure out a way to kind of get that pinkish glow. I like the reflection of that into the water. So I'm gonna keep it kind of simple. This is an abstraction. I'm gonna draw this out and plan it out with a brush, and then I will start to paint next time. When I start to paint with it, I will use a palette knife to kind of start filling it all in. So this part I'm going to do with just a regular brush. So I do think that I want to, similar to the other painting, set this up so that it's vertical like this. So I'm going to paint it like this. I've got a box this time so that I don't make another mess on the floor. I'll pick out my color. Let's find something. My little box of goodies here. I've got some Florence paints that I had got before. Here we go. Pozzuoli Rosso, which is the red earth from just outside of Naples. I kind of like the idea of maybe using that as my undercolor. Still the ground. So that's a possibility. I don't think I want this one. Italian pink. That's kind of a reddish. Naples reddish. Brown pink. That kind of also sounds good. Alizarin orange. I think I'm going to stick with this one right here. So I'm going to just put a little bit of that on my palette. I've just got these plastic paper palettes. Keep it simple. Luckily that opened up for me without too much trouble. When something's been sitting for a long time like this has, there's a chance that a lot of the oil separates from the medium. So it can be a little bit, I'll just use my Neo Meg, a little bit oily. So you might want to have like a paper towel or something like that. I'm just going to draw this out, so I'm not going to really worry about that at the moment. So I'm looking at my photo. I've got my coffee set up. I've got my paint set up. I'm going to keep this kind of simple, and I'm not going to maybe include everything from the photo, but I'm going to try to get most of it. I may dip into a little bit of the cold black to kind of help draw some of this. The first thing I see when I kind of get started and I'm looking at this is the mountain range. So I'm going to kind of interpret that first. I'm going to put this first peak. I don't want it pointing up at the very top corner. I think that would be a little bit too obvious. So I'm going to move that over just a little bit. A pretty tall peak here. Comes down, and then you have a horizontal chunk that kind of comes down and in front of it. I am abstract to this, so I'm not worried about whether it's an exact copy. If I wanted to really nail this 100%, I would probably, either do some gridding or more likely in these lazy days that I have, I would go through and project it just to kind of get the placement of everything, and then I would go through and fix it later. So there's that part. I might have to compress, and I'm looking at the size of this, and I'm already feeling like if I get that big with this, I'm only going to barely show some of the water here. So I am going to, I got a t-shirt right here. I cut up a t-shirt today to make a mask, and it's perfect because now I can have also a rag and I don't have to run and go get one while you're still here. Just tear it apart. So old t-shirts make great rags, as you already know. I'm gonna just take this, wipe it off, and put that to the side. I'm gonna just rotate it upside down, start over. Let's try it again. This time maybe I'll stay a little bit more outside. Maybe I'll start with the foreground. So the first part of the lake's coming in here. There's like a little jut out, then it kind of comes over and across. I'm just trying to get, an abstraction of what this is so that I can, make something that feels like a landscape. I'm not worried about whether it is the exact copy of this. The artist who went and took the picture, they got the inspiration, they did all the work. I just want to kind of use it to inspire what I'm going to do. And this one feels like it's going to fit a little bit better. So this is the lake space in here. Compare that when I have the mountain kind of like higher ranges come up in there, and they'll be pretty close to the top. I think I would have liked to have shown a little bit more of the sky. I love clouds, I love to paint skies, but I don't think that's going to work for this one. So it'll be a very small cloud area. So I'm basically just using this Italian red, earth red. And I'm just drawing with paint. That's all I'm doing, is I'm trying to kind of interpret it and draw it. Trying to find the angles. I didn't want this to be right in the middle, but it's going to be a lot closer to the middle than I think I wanted it. Luckily, it is not a, very stereotypical mountain peak. Your stereotypical mountain peak has like even sides. It's kind of like an upside down V. This is not that same kind of a mountain. This is something that is a little bit more jagged and pointed, and I don't even think I have it pointed enough. Wait, make it a little taller there. If my paint isn't flowing, I'll just grab some Neomeg. If it's flowing too much, I'll use more paint and not grab my Neomeg for a little bit. So some of those are a little bit close to the top. I don't think that would have been my first choice had I planned this out a little bit better, but I think we're at the point in the semester with 1 month to go. We just don't have the time to really spend too much time being picky. We got to try to do what we can do with what we've got and hopefully enjoy kind of trying to talk about these and explore them and work on them. So I'm to the point where I have, I think, most of the drawing. So I am going to start, blocking in some of this. I'm taking my brush. I'm just kind of barely scraping the surface. I'm trying to scrub it in. So compared to last time where I had just a ton of paint on the surface and then I kind of was carving and ragging and scraping some of the paint away, here I'm just adding it, and I'm only really trying to add right now just a little bit of paint. I'm trying to set up the values. That's what I want to get here in the start. Is where is it darkest, where is it medium. So I'm kind of separating some of the middle value areas from the dark areas. And I may go through and kind of wipe some of this back out with my rag again. Just kind of depending. Push and pull. That's what a lot of this is add a little bit, figure out if it's too much. If it is, pull a little bit back, add a little bit more where it needs it, make it darker, make it lighter. Overall, I think this is pretty close to what I want to have for a first stage, kind of like a block in, and then I would go through and maybe make it a little bit darker. So I'm going to take this rag, I'm going to lighten some of this, pull a little bit of the paint back off a little bit in some of the areas, specifically like over here there's some snow, so I'll keep it a little bit lighter, maybe even some of this out so it can kind of pull some of those extra brush strokes away in some of these areas. A little bit of this over here, pull that away. So yeah, it's kind of working for me. Got a little bit of this cold black still, so I'm going to mix in just a little bit of the cold black and maybe make one last kind of attempt at trying to draw some of this. So I'm going a little bit slower. I've choked up on the brush a little bit. I'm trying to be a little bit more methodical about where I'm putting down my strokes. How much pressure am I having? Am I trying to put down a lot of paint or just a little bit of paint?